Hey guys, I'm Bonefoot. Welcome to the first episode of Western Game Gallery, a new video series dedicated to exploring the depths of the admittedly not so large library of Wild West themed video games. In each episode I'll be showcasing one Western game from any video game genre or generation. As long as a game is set in the days of the Wild West or otherwise has heavy Western themes in it, it's eligible to be featured on this show. Every game featured then gets judged against its peers and, if found good enough, gets a place in the Western Game Gallery Top 10 Best Western Games list that I'll be building up as the series goes on. Currently topping the list is the game that doesn't even need to be featured on this show because its dominance in this category is already so widely recognized. The game that every game featured on this show will try to surpass, but realistically speaking never will. One of my personal favorite games of all time, Red Dead Redemption. Perhaps one day I'll dedicate an episode to it, but for now I'll just pretend that everyone who stumbles across this series has already played it for themselves. In this first episode we're going to check out a game that I've been looking forward to playing for many years now, one that I thought would work well as the starter game for this series. So saddle your horses and butter your butts and let's see what it is. What better game to start this series off with than with the little brother of the king of westerns, Red Dead Revolver. Its older brother has overshadowed it so heavily that most people don't even seem to know it exists. But here it is in all its PlayStation 2 glory. Let's see what it has to offer. You play as Red Harlow and the game begins with your father returning home from an expedition.
Our troubles are finally over. We hit a vein of gold as wide as a locomotive.
Hey, Pa, where'd you get that?
Isn't she a beaut?
Yeah. Can I hold it?
She's one of a pair, only two in the whole world. Why don't you take my old pistol? Go on down to the river and practice while I give your ma her gifts.
Moments later they're attacked by a group of outlaws. Red and his father defend their home as best as they can, but they are way outnumbered. The outlaws manage to murder both of Red's parents. In a moment of desperation, Red grabs his father's new gun from a fire, burning his hand but not before getting in a last shot. Oh! Oh! Nice. He uses this opportunity to quickly hide and wait until the outlaws are gone. The game then skips several years. Red is now a bounty hunter, earning his pay by bringing wanted people to justice. Gaining both friends and enemies along the way, he eventually picks up a trace on his parents' killers and sets out to get revenge. Besides the very classic Western revenge tale, the game also has an underlying story arc that's a straight up retelling of the story of the good, the bad and the ugly. It's like they took that story and injected a fourth character and his revenge tale into the mix. The story is told in a semi-serious tone, but much like in Redemption, that tone is contrasted by many silly and over-the-top characters. Red himself is not quite a John Marston, he's a much quieter character, only talking when it's needed to advance in his objective. His circumstances have built him rough, but underneath it all he's clearly still a good guy. He's a decent protagonist, nothing special.
5,000 pieces in gold. This'll help me keep my ranch.
Unlike Redemption, Revolver is not an open world game. It's a linear from chapter to chapter third-person shooter. Each chapter takes place in its own self-contained location, and your objective is usually to either kill multiple waves of enemies, defend a specific target from enemies, or reach a certain spot in the map. The game's numerous awesome action scenes make you feel like a real Wild West badass. My favorite one has Red in hot pursuit of a train full of bad guys, and you have to fight them off on horseback, jumping onto the train and back, detaching train carts, and eventually stopping the train with a freaking Gatling gun. There's also a pretty hilarious brawl in a bar where you have to defend hookers from drunken outlaws. Every now and then between chapters you get to visit Brimstone, a town where you can spend the money you earn from killing outlaws on new weapons and upgrades. You can also speak with the townsfolk, although the blank stare some of the NPCs have on their faces while they talk really unsettles me for some reason.
Well, there is the canyon.
That's awful pretty at sunset.
Controlling Red is pretty intuitive. You can duck, jump, climb ledges and do dodge rolls with ease. The shooting mechanics are also satisfying and many of them transferred over to Redemption, like the little screen flash that indicates that an enemy died, and the Deadeye Targeting system where you have a meter that fills up when you kill enemies that you can then use to slow down time, mark targets on your enemies and then release hellfire on them. The only bit of gameplay I disliked was the dueling, which was one of my least favorite things about Redemption as well. The controls are just awkward and the last few mandatory duels in the story mode are way too punishing and took me a ridiculous amount of retries to get through. In the vast majority of chapters you play as Red, but there are a handful of one-off chapters where you get to play as some of Red's friends, who all have their own specialty weapons and Deadeye skills. In one chapter you even get to play as one of his main enemies in a scene that is once again straight out of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Most enemies you face are just fodder with simple AI that are easy to gun down with a single headshot or a couple of body shots, which gives the game an arcadey feel. Then there are the special enemies that have their own life bars that take a bit more effort to kill. And lastly there are the bosses. The game is full of them and they all have their own unique over-the-top personalities, weapons, fighting patterns and weaknesses that you have to exploit to beat them. These are definitely one of the highlights of the game. They're varied, fun and provide a decent challenge. One of the bosses, Pig Josh, was a playable character in Redemption's online mode and I always used him because I thought his design was just so ridiculous and funny. I knew he came from Revolver, so I was excited to finally get to see him in his original form. Here we go. Pig Josh, I love you. Oh god. Jesus Christ. Ow. Fuck. Fucker. Fuck. Gonna get you this time. Ah! Jump away! Fuck, 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 fuck. Fuck. Fucking hell. Damn. Oh shit. Fucking hell. God damn it. Holy asshole. Fucker. Fuck. Fuck. Can't get up here. Oh god. Fuck. Fuck. Yeah. Finally. Jesus Christ. The game replicates the old western movie feel phenomenally well. The western locations are very detailed and they're enhanced by the great graphics and the subtle film grain effect. The music very much supports this feel by having a lot of the soundtrack, including the game's main theme, taken straight out of old spaghetti western films, which is an awesome touch. Beating the game unlocks hard difficulty, which is basically New Game Plus since you get to keep all your weapons and money. It took me about 9 hours to beat the game and I was still up for more, so I went and played through it again in hard mode. Doing that unlocked very hard mode and also something I definitely wasn't expecting, which is a mode called Redwood Revolver. Now, what the hell is that? Said Bonefoot.
Oh, you mean that? It's a mode where Red is replaced by a target dummy named Manny Quinn,
answered Rockstar. Oh, said Bonefoot. Well done. So yes, it's still the same exact story and you still have Red's voice and everything in the cutscenes, but his character model is now this wooden dummy that creaks a lot when you move around. The only gameplay difference I noticed is his unique Deadeye skill where he lights himself on fire, runs at enemies and burns them alive, which is the best thing ever. Why is this mode in the game, you ask? Well, I don't know for certain, but I do have a theory. You see, this game had an interesting development cycle. It was originally being developed by Angel Studios with Capcom as the publisher. The subgenre of Western they wanted the game to be is literally called Weird West, which is where you combine elements of Westerns with other genres like horror, sci-fi or fantasy. Then in the middle of development, Rockstar came into the picture and bought Angel Studios, renaming them Rockstar San Diego. They then also bought the rights to the game from Capcom and decided to steer its development away from Weird West, instead going with the more classic and violent subgenre spaghetti western. So it could be that this mannequin character is a remnant of those early Weird West development days, and they decided to keep him as a fun little bonus for those who beat the game twice. This could also explain some other silly parts of the game, like the one where you're mowing down countless dwarf clowns. It's fucked up. But then again, it could all just be some Rockstar humor, what do I know. Besides the story, there's also a Showdown Mode where you get to play as almost any character from the game. You can take on up to 3 bots, or if you have the PS2 multi-tap, 3 people in various deathmatch and dueling modes with customizable rules and plenty of arenas. I can see this being a lot of fun with friends. I had a blast back in the day with PS1 games that had very similar multiplayer deathmatch modes like Siphon Filter. In conclusion, Red Dead Revolver is a badass game. It was clearly made by a talented developer, which is probably why Rockstar bought them. The potential for even greater things, which would manifest itself 6 years later as Red Dead Redemption, was already clearly visible. It's time to give Red Dead Revolver a place in the top 10 list. It does not top its older brother, but I think it's gonna have quite a firm grip on the number 2 spot. The upcoming games in this series might have a hard time trying to separate this family gathering. I fucked that up. Ow! I peeled my skin. Ah, fuck. I need to learn how to do all that. I can only do the simple spinning for now.